This video is brought to you by a huge mountain of drugs. Chulane, Teller of Tales versus Rick, Steadfast Leader. Just a one lander, but we've got plenty of one drops in hand, so I'm going to risk this one. Really can't recommend a one lander usually, but we'll see how this thing turns out. Our opponent plays Fortified Village and reveals a land, so that comes in untapped. We will just start things off with Champion of the Parish and hope that it doesn't get a Swords to Plowshares. Then an Elfheim Druid, just a mana dork for our opponent. Let's go for Dauntless Bodyguard and try and protect our Champion of the Parish. Didn't get into a land, unfortunately. That will benefit from humans being cast. And we'll swing in at the 0-2. With our 2-2. Tap land now from our opponent. They get into the blue mana they need and then accelerating even further ahead of us with a Wood Elves. Gets them into another blue source and then even more with an Arbor Elf down to 3 cards in hand. Meanwhile, we can't make a second land drop. I think we'll go for more protection in Benevolent Bodyguard here. That can give a creature protection from a colour. Makes the Champion of the Parish a 3-3, so we'll continue to swing in at them. Castle Vantress from our opponent now. I imagine we'll see Chulane here. And we do. Alright, well, it's not a land, but it is mana in Sol Ring. I think I just want to continue to pressure my opponent with humans, to be honest. There's an argument to be made. If we get into a Plains next turn, we could go for our commander if we drop Sol Ring here, but yeah, well, we've got the creature down now anyway. Let's swing in with Champion of the Parish yet again. It's now a 4-4, knocking our opponent down to 21. And now it's time to see if our opponent combos off. Mana Breach, that's the last card we want to see. Whenever a player casts a spell, they have to bounce a land. Yeah, turns out we could have gotten our Steadfast Leader into play there. We're going to take a few turns off here thanks to Mana Breach. Play out the Sol Ring and then we'll have to play the Plains out again straight away. Could hold up Generous Gift for that thing, I suppose. Continue to swing in with the Champion of the Parish. And they are chump blocking with the Wood Elves. And it looks like they're going to bounce it in response with Chulane. Yeah, returning it to their hand with their commander so they don't take any damage there. I don't think they've missed a land on any of their turns here. Anyway, going in for the Wood Elves, which will draw them a card, allow them to put a land into play. They make another land. Mana Breach will keep lands in their hand as well, as long as they continue to cast creatures, or cast spells in general. Then it is Oracle of Muldiah, so they'll be able to make multiple lands a turn, which is very helpful with a Mana Breach in play. And now we see a Rhystic Study on top for them. So it's not likely we're going to win this one, but let's get out the Arid Mesa. We'll crack that, go for a Plains, and then in for our commander. They've got blue mana held up, so there's every chance that they've got counter magic. Alright, well, good to know that it's likely they don't have it. We'll get a buff on Champion of the Parish and then a buff on all of our creatures as well, giving them First Strike and Vigilance, which is what we're going to be choosing most of the time, I imagine. Makes them good on attacks and blocks. Blocking with Chulane, which won't die, and then bouncing the Wood Elves again. So they are going to take a hit for 8 here, going down to 13. Then playing a Breeding Pool off the top with Oracle of Muldiah. Going for Wood Elves, they'll draw into Elvish Rejuvenator. And there's an island on top as well. So they draw into the island, play the Ymir on top, they play the Elvish Rejuvenator straight away. And that allows them to look at the top 5 cards. and put a land from amongst them onto the battlefield. So they get into a plains. Now Birds of Paradise on top, playing the Palladium Mere that they drew into, which draws them into Birds of Paradise and reveals an island. Playing the Birds of Paradise to draw the island. And now it's a Beast Whisperer on top, so our opponent definitely starting to go off here. Drawing cards and ramping all at once. Luckily they're all weak creatures, so we should still be able to swing in at them. Fell the Mighty doesn't really... Yeah, they're weak creatures like I said, so that doesn't really help us. Let's drop our plane straight away. And then I think it's okay to try and get rid of our opponent's commander so that they can stop getting so much advantage out of it and chump blocking with something and then bouncing it and all the rest of it. Which will buff Champion of the Parish again. We'll point the Fiend Hunter at Chulane. And in response, Chulane bounces himself back to hand, saves them on some command attacks. And with that, we'll just have to swing in with our army. And they'll make some chumps here, I imagine, because they're getting pretty low on life. So they're going to lose the Wood Elves, lose the Rejuvenator, and the Elfheim Druid as well. And they'll take a hit for 7, going down to 6. And we just need to keep our fingers crossed that they don't draw too many cards with that Beast Whisperer. Well, they're going to play Chulane again. Then it is Beast Whisperer and Quirion Elves that they drew into off of the Beast Whisperer being cast thanks to Chulane. That was on top. And now they get down a Labman as well. There's every chance they can combo off with that, but I don't think we need to worry about Laboratory Maniac just yet from the cards we're seeing in play. Also got Mana Vault on top. Again, we don't need to worry about that, I don't think. Let's continue to push them. I dare say any combo they've got relies on their commander, so we'll go banish a priest and try and get rid of their commander again. Or at least keep summoning sickness on it. In response, they untap a blue and green source. And then tap down the birds and they go for mana drain. So countering our banisher priest. So we go back down to 1 land. Let's continue to pressure their life total. Yeah, they're blocking with the Labman, so that suggests that they don't have a combo in hand. Blocking with Oracle as well. And the Palladium Mere. And the Quirion Elves as well. So taking a hit for 3, going down to 3. 8 cards in our opponent's hand and all the mana they could need, so there's every chance they continue to get into blockers for us. Making some mana and bouncing the Arbor Elf. This is probably just for card draw. They'll draw 1 from Chulane and 1 from the Beast Whisperer. And there we go, managed to win this one. Yeah, I was not expecting that. I thought our opponent with, 10 cards in hand was definitely going to combo off there, but apparently they just got flooded out. We saw the Rhystic Study and the Mana Vault. Didn't know about Deafening Silence and Mana Crypt. We might have known about a few of those lands because they were bounced back to hand, but yeah, apparently not managing to get into a combo, so we just go wide on them next turn because they didn't manage to get into any creatures either. I don't think that was a fair shake for our deck because we kept a 1-lander, which we shouldn't have done, and then the Mana Breach kept lands off of our side of the field anyway. But I think it did quite well considering. I mean, well, we won, so we can't have done that badly. I want to thank Jero as well, before I forget. Jero, who plays with us on the multiplayer games sometimes, and is a friend and patron of the channel, has provided me with these cards, so a big thank you to Jero for that. Let's get on with another game. Alright, well, we're starting with lands this time at least. Up against Kresh the Bloodbraided. We are going to keep that. We'll have to hope for some humans to... Yeah, we'll have to hope for some humans to come along. Just a pass. Oh no, it wants to know about colour identity. Okay. How many planes do we need? It just needs 1 planes to come in untapped for that. Let's go for... I think we're okay to go for the Accorder Paladin there. I don't think we need to worry about Defense Grid. There's a lot of blue players on Magic Online, so that's why things like Defense Grid and Cavern of Souls are in here. Defense grid does affect us though, so we do need to be aware of that. Pelt collector from our opponent now, and we get ourselves into a mana crypt. That's good, so we'll play that out. We can go Arcane Signet first and then get down our commander. And they decided that they didn't want to play it out against that. They must be struggling on lands or something. We are struggling on actually getting into creatures, so we would have had first strike on a 3-1, first strike and vigilance, but yeah, we weren't necessarily getting into anything all that incredible. Try and get another game in. Playing against the same opponent again with what I assume is the same deck, and I'm not going to keep a one-lander again like last time. Okay, well, we've gotten into 2 of our more expensive spells. I think we just play out Kithios on turn 1, or Kithion, whatever he's called. Kithion. And then we can go for Emeria on turn 2, I think. So let's put a land away. And then we'll do exactly what we said we were going to do. The 2-1 and a land. Our opponent doesn't manage to make a dork. There's every chance that they've got burn. I like Arcane Signet. We might get ourselves into a land next turn that comes in untapped. So it might be that we can go for our commander next turn. Oh dear, we might have a player that we don't want to play against here. Yeah, might have to ban them. I'm certainly not going to play them again during this play session. I recognise this username here. I'm not sure if that was the Chulane player that we just went up against. Yeah, maybe not. I might have played them in another game tonight. They are playing Omnath, Locus of the Roil anyway, and we are on the draw. Get ourselves into another land, so we will start things off with Champion of the Parish, and probably going in for Fencing Ace after this. A Simic Signet from our opponent. Yep, we'll go in for... I don't think it really matters between the two. Let's just go in for Fencing Ace. If they get a Dork or a blocker of some kind into play, we're probably not swinging in with the Accorder Paladin anyway. So I think that's just as good a turn 3 drop. And then turn 4 goes into our commander. They don't have much coloured mana, thankfully. So it might be that they're not holding up much counter magic. Looks like this is Omnath. Nope, they go for Grove Rumbler. +2/+2 on landfall. Another land for us. I wonder, Call of the Coppercoats might be a better idea actually. Any number of target opponents create X human soldier tokens, where X is the number of creatures those opponents control. I wonder if they're going to try and shock this with Omnath. So, yeah, I'm actually going to hold up Call of the Coppercoats here. And if they go for the double striker, then so be it. Call of the Coppercoats is actually more effective with our commander as well. Unfortunately for us, it looks as though Omnath is an elemental tribal deck, which it typically is. So Harsh Mercy isn't going to be as good as it normally is, I don't think. Alright, Kodama's Reach. So apparently should have gone for the Accorder Paladin. They get into the island and the mountain that they got with the Kodama's Reach, so no fetch for combat shenanigans with the Grove Rumbler. They're just turning it sideways in now at us anyway. So we go down to 23. They are holding up double blue. Let's just go for 1 token with the Coppercoats. Puts a plus counter on Champion of the Parish. Alright. Harmonious Archon is going to buff our humans. I think I might just go Accorder Paladin, because I think they're holding up mana for our Rick. And with that we will turn sideways in at them. Next time, if they hold up blue mana again, we'll go for Rick, and they'll probably counter it, and that will hopefully get us an Harmonious Archon through. Our opponent was going to swing in there, but decided against it. And now going for their Omnath, so they get to shock something here. Probably the double striker, I would assume. No, going for the Battle Cry, alright. Could be that they've still got counter magic held up with a single blue. But I think, well, there's Cavern of Souls, so they're not going to be able to counter our Rick. We'll go human on that. And then it is First Strike and Vigilance, which is what we're typically going to go for, because it makes for really good blockers. And then we'll swing in with everything. They can double block on our, well, either of our 3/3s if they want to. Alright, putting a regeneration shield on something, I think. So they're still going to lose a creature if they go for the double block. Alright, just blocking the 7/7. So that taps down the Omnath. And they go down to 12. And they make a land. That's a plus counter on something. And a +2 buff with the Grove Rumbler. It's noteworthy that they can make landfall with the Ghost Quarter as well, destroying one of their own lands. Then Regeneration Shield going on Omnath again, so this might be a board wipe, although don't see why you put a plus counter on there if it is. Oh, alright, yeah, Anger of the Gods, so this would have dodged the board wipe anyway. We've still got a 7/7. This will die because these two will die, so yeah, we just keep our 7/7, I think. Yeah, I think we keep the Champion of the Parish. We'll soon find out anyway. Oh, we actually keep Rick as well. I thought it was 3 toughness on that, but obviously it's 4. And then deciding not to swing in with the Grove Rumbler again. Consul's Lieutenant might be a bit too late for that. Let's go for the Harmonious Rumbler again. Might be that they've got some counter magic held up, but we'll want it out of their hand anyway, I imagine. Well, it lands. Comes in with some humans. Everything turns into a base power 3/3, which is actually a debuff on Rick, but on pretty much everything else in the deck it's going to be a buff. So they just chump the Grove Rumbler, or chump with the Grove Rumbler, go down to 5 commander, or 5 life and up to 5 commander. And this is a card that I've been wanting to play for a very long time, so I'm actually happy to see mono white humans become playable now. Yeah, and the tokens aren't loading up with the art for some reason. Alright, Chandra Awakened Inferno. That can minus X, where X is 6. Yeah, and I think they've just realised that that doesn't really do anything for them. We can just force them to chump with Champion of the Parish. They would probably go -5 on that. And it deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker. And it exiles the stuff that it kills off. So it gets rid of Rick, but I mean, we can just replay it next turn anyway and swing in with this. So yeah, just shows what you can do when you actually get into mana in this deck. I think we shall try one more and that'll probably be us done for the night. Probably a more competitive player now. Breya, Etherium Shaper. We have a turn 1 defense grid there, which might be useful against our opponent. So it's a 1 lander, but I'm going to risk it anyway. The Lightning Greaves might be helpful as well. Oh, and there's Grand Abolisher, yeah. We've got our anti-control stuff. So even though it's a 1 lander, I'm going to try this one. Pearl Medallion. Yeah, I think I'm still going for defense grid first. We'll just have to hope that there's no counterspell there, and there isn't. So in for defense grid on turn 1, and our opponent just cracks their fetch, goes in for a shock land. For Boros Signet, I think we go Pearl Medallion here, and we will start our human tribal tactic off with Champion of the Parish. Gotten quite a bit of use out of that during this play session. Well, that was quite a constructive turn from our opponent. They get down Cavern of Souls, a Crucible of Worlds with a fetch in the bin. Get down Rakdos Signet as well. We've only got 1 white mana. We'll go Lightning Greaves. And we'll go for the Shadow Creature, which will buff Champion of the Parish. Lightning Greaves on the Shadow Creature. Get as much damage through as possible. And then it's Lightning Greaves onto Champion of the Parish, and hopefully that will give our opponent a headache. They go for the fetch, being played out of the bin straight away. Oh, alright, and then a Vandal Blast from our opponent. Well, at least we get into an untapped land in Castle Ardenvale. Let's attempt to get down... Yeah, there's every chance they've got Force Spike or something like that, but we'll get down Grand Abolisher in an attempt to get our commander down at some point. And keeping a one-lander, we're probably not going to win this one. We were lucky with the Chulane game before, but I don't hold out much hope with Breya. This time going in for Breya, and they've got the mana held up for killing off creatures. They go for their own Lightning Greaves, and then swinging at us. Well, at least we know they're not going to be able to do anything during our turn, and they go for a Preordain there. Let's just get down the Azorius, what's it called? Azorius Arrester. We'll stop a Thopter from blocking, and then we can just swing in with everything. And that's probably us done at this point. Just have to wait for our opponent to eventually win, I think. They turn a couple of things in sideways at us, knocking us down to 21. Then going for a Felwar Stone, and 6 mana takes them into Catastrophe, which is destroy all lands or all creatures. So they went for creatures. We'll play it out for another turn or two, but our opponent's toying with us here, really. They could have gone for killing off the creatures by getting rid of their Thopters, playing their Breya again. Then it's Greaves onto the Breya, and that will turn sideways in at us. Really, the Ancestors will only be able to get the one creature out with that. If we got into something like an Ancient Tomb or a Mana Crypt, then we could actually get a bit of use out of that, but this is really for some kind of Alpha Strike during the late game, so yeah, let's just play it out one turn just out of curiosity, but our opponent definitely has us here. Swinging in at us with all of their creatures. Yeah, and then Omen of the Sun, so just not getting into the lands this game, much like the first one. This often occurs on Magic Online, where if you get into a game where you're not getting into a lot of lands, then it's often the case that you get into lots of games where you don't get into lands. I've got 37 in this deck, same as pretty much all my decks. And yeah, you just get these recurring patterns where you have a play session on Magic Online or an evening of playing where you just cannot get into lands to save your life, and then you play the same deck the next day and everything's A-OK. So I don't know if that's something to do with the shuffler on Magic Online, some kind of programming. I've no idea. Let's just attempt to land Omen of the Sun for the sheer fun of it, see if our opponent's got counter magic in hand, which they probably do. I think they can deal damage to us directly, can't they? Yeah, it's player or planeswalker the damage, so yeah, they could have done that straight away. So yeah, pretty typical Breya deck there. Wanted to give my opponent the chance to actually win it, and they did, so yeah, good for them. Yeah, like I was saying, you just get play sessions where you just can't get into lands no matter how many you put in the deck. So I don't know if that's an issue with Magic Online or if mathematically that is just a common occurrence. But yeah, pretty happy other than that. I have played some games in which they just ground to a halt because we couldn't get into lands, and you won't have seen them here. I won't be showing them because they weren't particularly interesting. But yeah, pretty happy with how the deck ran when we actually got into mana. You'll have to all let me know what you think of the deck, and if you're interested in building a commander like this. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed it. Be sure to leave it thumbs up and subscribe if you did. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.